Hello and welcome to the channel, and today's video is going to be about my custom McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Knightfall Batman. So this custom has a few things going for it that I really love. One is that it embodies basically the Batman, the one that I grew up with, which was basically like the superpowers slash 80s, 90s, slim but athletic looking Batman, the Neil Adams, Jim Aparo, Celeste Garcia, that kind of Batman, the one that when you think of Batman from that era, that's the one that you're gonna envision. So this is I think this is the figure that most everybody was hoping McFarlane would give us from the beginning. The Detective Comics 1000 version, the very first Batman, was kind of going for that, but not really, because supposedly that was based off of Jim Lee artwork, and we didn't get a Jim Lee Batman until he released the Hush Batman. So anyway, that's the one thing that this guy has going for it, that this is the basic, the most classic version of Batman that everybody was hoping to get. So it's a perfect starting point to customize, to make into your your perfect Batman, right? So the only thing that I would change on this figure, as far as the original, the mold, is the ears. To make them just slightly a little bit longer. That's the only thing that's missing from this to being perfect. I myself didn't modify the ears because that's for something later down the line. But anyway, what is it that I made, that I customized on this guy? Well, few things. One, it's a complete repaint except for the belt and the logo on the chest, but everything else has new paint, and then obviously the cloth cape, and then how I attach the cape. So first, let's have a look and reveal the figure, right? So the paint that I used is the Duplicolor. Yeah, it is the Duplicolor. Yeah, that's the one that I used. Duplicolor vinyl and fabric paint, in gray. It's the only gray that they have, or at least the one that I found at my AutoZone. So I don't know if there's a different shade of gray, but for my purposes, it was the perfect shade of gray. And the blue is a custom mix, so I really couldn't tell you, the color. You're just gonna have to go by eye how to repaint your figure. You want to attempt something like this. So the look that I was going for, as I mentioned, is that late 70s, early 80s color scheme, which was like a darker gray and a lighter blue. The blue that I tried to match was from the cape, so it's still a shade. The shade is a little darker than I would have liked, but in certain light, it almost looks like the same color. So it just depends on camera. It almost looks like it's the same shade actually. Yeah, it's just, to the naked eye, you can really tell there's a slight difference in the color shade. But yeah, I'm looking at it through the camera lens, and it almost looks like a perfect match. So pretend I didn't say anything. But anyway, that's the that's the main portion of the custom on this guy. So like I said, complete repaint front to back. If I show you the back, I had to plug up the portion where the cape connects to in the body. So again, for those who don't know, I use there's a modeling clay by DAZ that I use, which is almost looks like a casting clay. And when it dries, it almost looks like it's like for a cast on your arm when you break your arm. You know, it has like that powdery finish. But when well, what I do is once that dries up, I add super glue to add a smooth layer of it. I let the super glue settle, and then just lightly sand it down with like 1,000-2,000 grit sandpaper, wet sand it, just to get a smooth finish from it. And I'd have that porous finish, and it also is gonna be able to take paint better, right? So that's as far as the paint. As far as modifications, I did make 2 modifications to the figure. One, the portions here on the for the shoulders. So I did cut out slightly a little bit of plastic here on the edge. Excuse me. To get better range for the shoulders, front and back. Okay. I'm gonna do some comparisons later on, so don't worry. But yeah, I better range. So I dremeled on the inside to carve out just a little more space on the inside to get better range for the butterfly. And again, I ended up cutting up a little bit on the sides here of the pec. The other excuse me, the other thing that I ended up doing was how I put on the cape on this guy. So I didn't want to glue it in, and I didn't want to maybe have like a turtleneck situation where the cloth would be coming down from the neck portion and then covering up the figure. So what I ended up doing, and it's going to be easier to show you from the back, I ended up carving up around the base of the cowl and almost making like a little trench or like a lip, you could say, for not snapping, but you know, securing the cape, making the hole wide enough to be able to slide on top of the head, or the not the head, but you know, wide enough for it to fit and secure around the cowl, but not big enough that it would end up being too loose. So you can see here how I ended up dremeling out the trench below the cowl piece here on the figure, and how the cape is tucked in underneath. So I did that all around the figure, all the way up to the front, right? You have to be really careful and not to damage, you know, anything from the toy when doing that. And you can see here how it looks on the inside, right? But you can't really see that from the cape. So, you know, like this. So you can see a little more. The reason the cut is so outwards instead of just, you know, reserved for that part, I don't have like the right size diameter cutting blade for the for my Dremel, the disc. It's a little too large, so as much as I try to be careful when cutting into the figure, the disc is just a little too oversized for this particular project to come out nice. Although it came out good, it could have been cleaner. So you can see me futzing around with the cape. The reason I'm doing that is the when I try to do the cauterizing to prevent the cape from fraying the ends, it almost doesn't look like a straight cut. It almost looks like wavy. You can see. So I'm just folding it here on that next scallop so that it looks straight. Even though I still get fraying. Look at that. But yeah, that's basically what you see me doing here. Right. To get that nice sharp cut at the top of the bat symbol, which is what I like. But let's have a close-up look here at the figure then. Let me pull back. So I just gave him like that mild shading that I like, which is from the bridge of the nose to the upper cheeks and below the eyebrow. Just because that's how the Batman that I grew up with looked like. This is basically more of this the Jim Aparo type shading. The other versions had the ring on top of the forehead, which you're gonna see in just 1 second when I do some comparisons. And here is that paint on the rest of the figure. So if I bend here, you can see the original color there. But you'll also see how resistant this paint is to chipping. So everything moves freely. There's nothing sticking or anything, which is what I like about this paint, that it's a little thinner. It goes on really thin. You don't really need a lot of you know, one pass and that's good. 2 at the most. Yeah, flexible and all that. Okay. So there's that. Let me pull back in closer. So for comparison, I've got 3 figures that I'm gonna use to compare this figure with this custom. One is another custom that I just finished and I showed you guys recently. Which is my hold on 1 second. So this first comparison is with my ultimate quote-unquote McFarlane Batman. So they have similar color schemes. They have that same shade of gray to the suit for the most part, and the lighter blue, the shade of blue. But I think the comparison I think most people are gonna want to see is, well, how does it compare with the standard release? So here is the standard Knightfall figure. So for those who remember, I mentioned that I picked up 2 more of these guys from Best Buy, at Best Buy. Let me just post this guy. Hold on 1 second. Okay, sorry. So I was waiting for a bit. The neighbor's alarm to stop. So you can see the comparison on the left to my custom versus the one on the right, which is the standard figure. So you can see the difference in the shades, right? So the shade on the standard figure, the blue, is a little darker, but the shade on the plastic on the figure, on the suit, the gray, is really light, really light. And I think that's one of the main complaints that some of the people were having with this. And also what made me want to do that, my custom in the first place. So that's the difference between these guys. And then the other comparison that I think most people might want to see is with the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive version of the Knightfall figure. So, you can see here the shade of the gray is a little darker, but it's not the same shade as on my custom. And the blue is way more darker. It's more like a darker blue. What do you call it? I'm sorry, I'm blanking out. I'm not exactly sure what the exact shade of blue that this is. But just call it a darker blue. Something marine blue or something. But anyway, you can see here the type of shading that they gave the figure, especially the one, like I mentioned, they shaded the front of the forehead, right, which was also typical of that shading pattern that you would see in the comics. And even then, if we compare, so let's compare then this guy to this guy, and you can see all 3 different shades of the coloring, one with the other, right? A lot of people would have preferred this to come, this version, this color scheme on this guy originally. This is what most people were hoping to get. So that's why the Comic-Con version was a hot seller there. So hopefully maybe someday McFarlane will release it maybe as a gold label exclusive for, without the shading. Maybe McFarlane will release that in the future. But just to keep this guy out here for comparison, you can notice what I made the adjustments here on the inside of the near the armpit, you could say, how it compares to this guy. So how I made this cut, I went a little more deeper here on this side right here, right there. And to, like I showed you, the range, kind of has the same basic range. I would say mine has a deeper range going backwards, but maybe that's just because of the cape. So this mod, this optional, I think it did add a little bit of range, maybe not that much as I thought it would. Again, one final look. Custom standard. I had originally maybe thought of using the plastic, cut off the cape, and use this part to hold down the cloth cape. But for this particular one, that's the idea that I had to go with cutting off around the edge of the cowl. No, I just noticed there's some paint smudge there. But there you have it. That's my custom McFarlane Classic Vintage. I don't know, whatever one. I don't even know what I'm gonna call it. I'm just gonna call it my. Yeah, I guess my. What is it? What would be the modern age Batman? I don't know. When was the modern age? When did the modern age begin? The 80s into the 90s, late 90s. What are we still in the modern age? So I think I'm just gonna call him, you know, a custom Batman, custom Knightfall Batman. But anyway, I'm rambling now. Let me know what you guys think. Did you think the idea for the how to attach the cape was good? Did I damage the figure? Does it look bad? Does it even look? Did it make a difference? You know, the paint, the colors that I chose. Do you think they look good? Let me know. Let me know what you guys think. And I appreciate all of you guys that have subscribed lately, and also all of you returning subscribers that I keep watching my videos. Thank you very much. So yeah, I'll be seeing you in the next one.